Peace, neighbors. What's poppin' with the population, man? It's your favorite neighbor, Dayron, aka Neighborhood. Y'all know the plethora of names by now. Welcome back to the greatest More Life show on the planet. As you guys can see, we're inside today, but we're still getting to it to get through it. Today, I want to show you guys your favorite neighbor's way of storing seeds. So for those of you, and specifically speaking on the soursop, and this could range for a plethora of different other seeds, but today specifically we're going to talk about how to properly store the soursop seeds. I'm going to show you the whole process of how I, clean them, test them to see if they're viable or not. Last but not least, show you how I store them, and not just store them for a day, not just store them for a week, a month, a year, but store them potentially forever. Those of you who know that I have a plant business and I do sell soursop seeds, I advise you to watch this because you can still utilize the wisdom that I'm about to spit in this episode. Say for instance, if you do cop some seeds from me, you don't want to necessarily use them right away, you can still utilize this method to store your seeds. Alright neighbors, first things first, what we're going to do to start off the process and lead up to storing the seeds, we're going to start off with what I usually do is eat the fruit. But right now I'm not going to be eating the fruit, but you will basically be eating the fruit, or just separating the seed from the pulp. Usually when you're eating it, you get to a point where you could usually just separate the seed from the pulp cleanly, and you won't have no leftover fruit sugar or fruit pulp surrounding the seed. But if you're not going to be eating it, is using your hands and literally just taking a piece and then just squeezing it. And then we're just squeezing it. You see it popping out? Yep, we're just squeezing it out the flesh. And then we take the flesh, put it somewhere on the side of the plate, and then we get to it. Now I'm gonna get something else so I can put the pulp in. I'm gonna utilize this plate for the actual seed itself. If you see it's black in there and it's kind of like puffy, that usually means it's a viable seed. Now one thing I love about soursop seeds is 99.9% of the time your seeds are going to be viable. You may have 1, 2, or 3 out of the bunch that's not viable, but for the most part all your seeds are going to be viable. Depending on how long you wait to eat the fruit, your seeds may not be viable, but like I said, for the most part your seeds should be viable. And that's what I love about soursop. Every fruit should at least bare minimum give you 20 to 30 seeds. It really just depends on the size. If you have a super small one, you could possibly expect 10 seeds. If you have a medium sized one like this one, you could definitely expect anywhere from 20 to 30 seeds, viable seeds at that. But you just take a seed and then you just press it towards the tip. It just pops out like that. We came out with a total of 26 seeds in that soursop. So you could tell already that 2 of these are probably not viable, but we're gonna check them and make sure. So, see, I could tell that this is not a viable seed. So that second soursop had about 24 to 25 seeds. Off the eye test, I could tell there's probably like 2 or 3 that's not viable. From 2 soursops, we got 47 seeds. That's what I'm talking about, abundance when it comes to harvesting the soursop. Usually this is what your seed is supposed to look like. You want it to have that dark chocolate, brown, blackish looking color. What we're gonna do is rinse these seeds off, take the sugar or whatever leftover fruit pulp is surrounding the seed. We're gonna test them using our water viability test, see which seeds are viable and which seeds are not. Alright neighbors, so you could go about this 2 ways. You could get you a nice little strainer, or you could get you a cup like this. You could start rinsing the seeds. When you use a cup or a bowl, you can knock out 2 things. You can knock out rinsing and cleaning the seeds. Also, you can knock out the viability test. So I'm gonna show you guys me, basically washing off the seeds. So we're just gonna dump them in the strainer. Swirl them around like that. You want to get all that fruit sugar off the seed. No leftover fruit sugar of any sorts surrounding the seed. Because if you have fruit sugar or fruit pulp still surrounding the seed, certain methods of storing the seed can lead to moisture buildup, mold, mildew, and one of these methods of storing the seeds. Now we about to do the water viability test. Those of you who don't know what viability means or what the water viability test does, I like to use that test to tell me which seeds are viable, which seeds are not. How do you know which seeds are viable, which seeds are not? When you put the seeds in the water, whichever seeds float means that it's not viable, or it doesn't have the best chance to become a tree. Whichever ones sink means that it does have the best chance to sprout. You don't have to really fill it up to the top. It doesn't matter if it's cold or hot water. All you gotta do is just fill it up with some water. And you see majority of the seeds sunk to the bottom. About 5 seeds actually floated. So like I said, neighbors, soursop seeds for the most part is gonna push out a lot of viable seeds. This is between 2 fruits. Only 5 seeds floated to the top. And those seeds, I kind of told you they were not gonna be viable as well, just from the eye test. And now I'm gonna show you some other way that I could tell which seeds are viable and which seeds are not. 1. Your seeds will usually be dark chocolate brown, be very hard and dense, and when you drop it, it's gonna be very loud. Your example, that's from 1 seed. It sounds very loud. Those are 3 ways you can tell if the seed is viable or not without even having to do the water viability test. Now, how was I able to tell which seed was not viable just by looking at it? Because usually, sometimes you'll get a seed that looks very tannish, very light tannish, more slim, doesn't look as dense. Just easily squeeze and press on it and it just will give. If you press on a viable seed, ain't no give to this thing. It's very hard. I could put all my might into this and I don't think I could break it. And that's not me being weak. That's just how hard these seeds are. Very much indigestible. That's why you can't eat soursop seeds. As I open the seed, it's just not good. It's brown on the inside, very squishy, it's very hollow. Usually when you drop it on the floor, you can't really hear nothing. And just in case you don't believe me, I'm gonna take one that I didn't open and drop it. I'm gonna take a viable one and I'm gonna drop it. I'm gonna drop all 4 of these and then I'm gonna drop this one. You heard a little something, but it's not like this. See how loud that was? I didn't mention this, but the inside of a viable seed is going to look white. That one that didn't look so white, it looked brown on the inside, that's how you know it's no bueno. That's another way you could tell how your seeds are viable or not. You do the water viability test, which is only good when you first extract the seeds from the fruit and rinse them off. Second, a more accurate way is you could do the eye, feel, or drop test. You look at it, see if it has that dark brown color or that wood brown color. You could feel it, see if it's dense or not, and you could drop it to hear and see if it's sounding dense when you drop it. It should have a loud noise coming from it when you drop it. The water viability test is not accurate after months of storage. The best way to test your seeds when you're storing them after months or years of storing them is just plant them. Take a few of the batch and plant them. And if they sprout in 4 to 8 weeks, then your batch is still viable. Also, you're gonna come across a seed that is seemingly hard, but like this one is seemingly hard, but it keeps floating to the top in my water viability test. And it sounds loud, has that dark brown color to it, but as I'm like kind of pressing on it, I could see the air bubbles coming out of it. It's still hard, but it still has a give to it a little bit. Not like, these other seeds, they don't have no give to it. I could put all my finger force into it and it still has no give. As opposed, if I put all my finger force into this one, it's gonna start to give in. Alright, neighbor, so I wanted to take this slight intermission to thank you for continuously watching and showing love to the episodes and for watching this far. In this process of extracting your seeds from the fruit, instead of just throwing it out, compost it. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna throw these on top. The more you entrench yourself in growing your own food, whether it's a food forest, a garden, you're going to not waste as much food. And when I say food, the usual food scraps that maybe when you're juicing or you're chopping up some veggies, even if it's like eggshells or some of that nature, you're gonna start finding ways to reutilize this stuff and making your own compost, because it's very vital and very important especially when you're growing your own. It not only shows you the value of reusing your food scraps, but it also shows you if you really reuse your scraps and feed that active bacteria in your compost, you will then start to feed the trees, garden, your veggies, whatever you're growing. And then in the long run, guess what? All those vital nutrients that the compost has that you're now using to feed your trees is soon going to feed you when it's time to harvest your vegetation, whatever fruit bearing trees you have, and so forth. But not gonna get too much into the composting. If you guys want to know how to compost your food scraps, your veggies, whatever the case may be, make sure to go check out both of my composting episodes that I dropped. I got a part 1 and I got a part 2 that you should check out so you could get in tune with the composting and no longer waste food scrap. You're gonna start to, at some point, look at your food scraps as gold. Step I forgot to show you guys is next, take the water, drain them from the seeds, because we know that all the seeds in here left are viable. Just pour it on a cloth or a paper towel. You want to let it dry. If you have like a dehydrator, you could put it in there for 10 minutes. That will help speed up the process. But if not, you could just let them sit on a napkin or a rag, put something over top of it, and let it sit for like 10, 15, maybe 30 minutes. Now we got the last step, and that's storing the seeds. 2 ways you could go about it. You could do the usual and store the seeds in a cool, dry place. You could put all your seeds or whatever in like a nice little jar. This is a nice way to reuse something. I think this had like pretzels in it for Halloween that my mom got years back, and she's utilizing it for her seeds. But you want to make sure you're placing this in a cool, dark, dry place, something where light will not penetrate or the temperature will go up and down. You know what I'm saying? You want it to be a consistent temperature, so you could put it in like your liquor cabinet, a wine cellar, any closets that you have that stay pretty cool, some type of bin that possibly stays cool, just anywhere that is cool, light doesn't penetrate it, or moisture builds up in it. Second way, which is my favorite way, this is my go-to when I store my soursop seeds, is putting them in the freezer or the fridge. Now I always go with the freezer, but you can also go with the fridge. The fridge isn't as consistent with temperature as the freezer will be. And not to mention, say if your power goes out, as long as you keep that freezer shut, you know, it could last for some time till you get that power back. Because I have seeds from 2 seasons ago that I'm still utilizing till this day and that are very much viable. And how do I know that they're viable? No, not because I did the water test, because I take some seeds and I go plant them every few months to test the viability of the seeds. And usually when you're planting soursop seeds, people often get impatient with it or just think that it's supposed to sprout within a week or 2 of planting it. But in reality, soursop seeds are one of the few seeds that take the longest to sprout or to, you know, enter the world. Take at least a bare minimum 4 to 8 weeks. When you're storing them in the freezer, you could use a nice little sandwich baggie like this, or you could use an envelope just like this. When you purchase from your favorite neighbor, they're usually gonna come in this envelope with directions, and you already know, leave your boy a review, you know, satisfied with what you got, you know what I'm saying? I always pack them in a sandwich bag. I use a sandwich bag like this, or I use a bigger Ziploc bag, and I just put them in the freezer. Another thing that I like about the freezer is that you may utilize the freezer, open it every now and then, but opening the freezer for 30 seconds, maybe a minute, doesn't really hurt it. You could place the seeds anywhere in the freezer as well. You don't have to necessarily put it in the back of the freezer. You can put it on the door of the freezer and it still won't affect the seeds because it's always keeping that constant cold temperature in there. If you want to store your seeds for a few days, maybe a week, 2 weeks, you can use a refrigerator. But if you're one of those people that don't have the necessary space to plant the seeds right away, put them in the freezer, you know, forget about them. I'm pretty sure you are going to forget about them. You're going to one day be moving and then you're going to realize, oh damn, I forgot I had these seeds, you know. This is for specifically the soursop family, but I'm pretty sure it could work for other dense type of seeds like lychee, longan. There's probably a bunch of other ones, like I know watermelon seeds, cantaloupe seeds, you can store in the freezer. You can always test it by planting 1 or 2 seeds out of the batch that you have to see if it's viable. You know, that will let you know, and that's the most accurate way to know if it's viable or not. You get me? Let me know if you guys utilize this. You know, spread this, share this in the neighborhood. Show love, man. Make sure to do your neighborhood due diligence. Give this episode a like. Make sure to comment neighborhood in the comments below. Also, follow me on all my socials at neighborhoodnature_, as well as subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel so we can continue to grow the channel one neighbor at a time. If you want to skip all this, you don't want to do all the processing of the seeds and all that, you don't even want to start planting the seed, go check my online plant nursery at NH Grow Society. Currently on Etsy. We are working on that website as we speak. We'll be dropping soon, but for now, go check us out on Etsy. We have a plethora of seeds, fruit-bearing trees, herbs, plants as well. The collection of what we have is consistently growing. Go check us out, see what your favorite neighbor has to offer. Stop throwing away your seeds, man. Store your seeds, especially if you have good heirloom seeds. Store your seeds. They're out here playing with our seeds. You know, sooner than later, they're gonna try to do that with exotic fruits as well. Learn how to store your seeds. It's a very valuable tool that you could put in your agricultural arsenal, your farming arsenal that you can utilize when you can store seeds, especially heirloom seeds or seeds from a good fruit-bearing tree, because it's going to pass on that lineage of that tree. If you ever come across a piece of land where you just want to have a plethora of fruit-bearing trees and different types of veggies and all that, neighbors. So store your seeds. Let's get to it. To get through it, grow your own / support true righteous local growers like myself, or continue to rely on a broken system to supply you their own. We already know what they supply is: fake food, fake seeds, all that. It's your favorite neighbor, Dayron, aka Neighbor. See you on the next one. You dig?